Beautiful. Awesome. So, guys, welcome to our on-air live podcast. We just finished having our networking and podcasting event here at HGAB Studios, and I want to welcome all of you guys to our hands-on session. So, this is the moment where we invite all of our guests to be able to come into the podcast, talk a little bit about themselves, be able to just create a podcast and a live podcast, which is something that we're really pushing here at HGAB Studios. And with me today, I have an amazing and very, very special guest. One of the most beautiful people that I know, inside and out. Here is Mari.
Hi, how are you? My name is Mariana Diaz, but I go by Hema. My artistic name is Hema La Reina, which means the queen.
Beautiful.
Yes, and so I'm a multi-hyphenate creator. It's hard. I don't like being put in a box, so I am a very multi-hyphenate artist. I do everything from graphic design, photography, art direction, modeling, posing, teaching, etc., etc.
That's amazing. And I'm just gonna start with the questions now, like
amazing.
rapid fire.
Let's do it.
If you were to start a podcast today, what would it be about?
Okay, so I have a dream to start a podcast called Hema Judges.
Ooh.
Okay, so I have an opinion about everything, and I think that's because my Venus is in Libra, so I'm very, very particular, and I have an opinion about everything. So I just want to have my podcast would consist of me just judging a movie, a book, a series, a show, reality TV, a product that just came out, and I just feel like I would have a lot of hot takes, and I would love to invite people to also have opinions. So maybe it's not Hema Judges, or maybe it's like Hema's opinions or something like that.
I like that one.
Or something like that. That's something I would do.
That's a great topic, and I think a lot of people will listen to that one.
Yeah. I feel like I would get canceled though a couple times, but that would be like a disclaimer of like, I'm aware that I can get canceled and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, don't worry. I mean, a lot of people have been canceled and then they come back, so it's you're totally good, right?
Okay, cool.
And my next question: if you were to have like your dream guest, who would it be and why? I mean, besides me, obviously, but you already have me in your podcast right now.
I'm going to take a note from Jojo Siwa, and I would have an ex.
Oof.
I would have an ex for sure. That would be very interesting.
Wow. Damn. That would be a really good episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like not necessarily exes, because I don't have like that many exes, or like people that I've dated. And it's funny enough that I'm like friends with a lot of people that I've dated. So I think it would be like easy to get them on and just be like, okay, be for real. Did I suck? Or did I not suck? Like, I think it would be funny.
That would be, it would be very nerve wracking too. Like just
Yeah, it would
finding out if you suck or you don't.
I want to know that. I think it's all constructive criticism.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good.
But
Awesome.
then they would have to like also take it. Like, okay, you can criticize me, but then I'm allowed to call you an asshole.
Okay.
You know, like you kind of sucked when you did this.
Right. All right. I guess it will go both ways too. They
No,
will be able
totally.
to do that with you.
No, it has to
Yeah.
be fair.
Okay. Good. And my last question for you, or my last kind of action for you is, if you can give us like that final moment in the podcast, what you would say to your listeners, maybe into this camera here, kind of like just that last, hey, I'm Mari, this is my podcast, boom, just to, give us a little bit of a taste of something to come, possibly.
Okay, cool. Hi, my name is Mariana. Welcome to Hey Ma's Opinions. Cancel me. I dare you.
Wow, that was I would love to have that closing for your podcast. So we're definitely gonna do that.
I mean, I think if I do a podcast, I want to stir the pot. I
Right.
want to stir the pot a little bit. I feel like people are just too PG or too like PC lately, and I just want to be. I obviously never want to offend anyone, but I just think like if the disclaimer already is that I'm aware,
Right.
then
You want to push the envelope a little
Right,
bit, right?
just a
Like,
little bit.
Just a
Why
little
not?
bit. Okay, that was actually really great.
Okay, awesome.
So I'm gonna go back to my camera here, and so this is an exercise that we do every time that we do our networking event. We actually invite all of our guests to come into the podcast studio and just go into a live session. One practices kind of just you being natural in camera, and you guys are gonna see some of our guests coming in later. So stay tuned to that. We're gonna go into a little bit of a break, and we'll be back.
Cool. Hello, welcome to Hey Ma's podcast. Here we have Charles Turtz that we will be interviewing today. And just so you know, my podcast is all about judging and having opinions about anything. So today I'm going to ask Charles a couple questions. Charles, please introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Charles. I have a podcast called Turtz where we look at different stories, both mine and my guests, for their authentic journey in healing and evolving and becoming their best selves and sharing the knowledge that they've learned.
I love that because it tells me that you have a lot of knowledge on a lot of things, meaning you have a lot of opinions. So let's go into it right now.
Let's do it.
What is your current Roman Empire right now? What is the thing that, like, at any given moment, you're thinking about it maybe for like 2 seconds?
I mean, my current Roman Empire is
Yeah.
definitely my podcast and all of the things that I'm looking to work on, especially with learning ChatGPT and
Oh my God.
discovering ways to make things more efficient, which is pretty much me in a nutshell, trying to make things efficient.
I love that. Okay, so now going into AI just really quickly, what is your favorite new AI tool? And then what is the one that you fear the most?
My favorite AI tool is, I think, ChatGPT in general, but just the pieces of it that can bring your personality to life without you necessarily having to create it from scratch. It's sort of learning you. The piece that is terrifying, I think, just the idea that it can go through and pull anything. So as it continues to evolve, being able to find old videos and old photos and analyze them, and it's terrifying in one sense that it can do that. But I think the other aspect is, how much more can we learn? What can we learn from body language of 10 photos of the same person with
Yeah.
another person? Or
sure.
how does that change between two people? So I think there's positive and scary parts to it, but hopefully the positives outweigh the scary parts.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited for the scariness of it. It makes like life easier. Okay, cool. What is one goal that you hope to achieve with your podcast besides success, right? And like, you know, it going out into the world and more people listening to it and seeing it as well.
Yeah.
What is your ultimate goal for the podcast?
Since I started the podcast, my goal was that I wanted each episode to positively impact one person and change the trajectory of their life.
Of that.
And I think that has happened with every episode. I recently had someone come back and talk to me about an episode that they did where they were a guest, and the amount of love that person received, apologies for people not understanding things that they went through, just, and from all different people, including ex-spouses or parents-in-law, family,
T.
just having that positive impact, not only to be able to share that story authentically, but also be able to have it impact them, where they say now to me, I didn't realize I needed that conversation.
Wow.
So it's sort of an evolution of, okay, so now I want it to positively affect one person and help them make a change in their life. I want it to be helpful to the guests, be helpful to the relationships they have. And so I think the more that we can connect and tell the more difficult stories, the more positive change we'll see.
I love that, T. I feel like you're out here doing so much good. Congratulations. And I hope
you.
nothing but success for you and your podcast.
Thank you.
Yay.
Welcome back. And today we have Ken with us. And Ken and I are going to talk about sales. So, first and foremost, Ken, how did you get into sales?
I feel like I've been in sales all my life, relatively. My parents were entrepreneurs, and I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur at an early stage. And as a business owner, I think it's important that you are the number one salesperson because you understand your business and your industry the most, I feel. And you're not only trying to sell yourself, but you're trying to sell your business and your services. So at a very early age, I was selling something. I grew up on a golf course, and I would sell golf balls and chips and sodas to the golfers when I was like 5, 6 years old, because I understand the value of money and like owning a business and all that good stuff from my parents. So I think I got started very early.
I love that. My brother will hate me saying this, but the first sale that I tried to make was selling him at a garage sale.
Okay.
But your golf story is much more empowering to your sales skills. So when you think about sales, what's the sale that you're most proud of?
When I think about sales, honestly, the sale that I'm most proud of, and it's not relatively a sale, but it's when I'm speaking about my business and talking to somebody new about my business and how exciting it is for me and all the things that we've been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. And I think when I'm talking about HGAB and HGAB Productions, I get really excited. And it's not necessarily to sell anything, it's just that, hey, we are here, we exist, this is awesome, you should check us out.
So if you were to give one person advice to get to that point where you are super excited and you have that passion for sales, if you were to give them one piece of advice about getting into sales, what would that piece of advice be?
The one piece of advice would have to be yourself. You know, I think in sales, it's all about relationships with people. And I think at the end of the day, we're not trying to sell them one thing one time. It's trying to sell them for a long period of time. And I think the best way to do that is when you can relate to somebody, and that's by authentically being yourself and like genuinely caring about what you're doing and who you're doing it for.
Absolutely. And remember, people buy from people that they like, and those relationships are incredibly important. So we're going to go on a brief break, and the next group will be coming up next. Thank you for joining us today, Ken.
Thank you for having me, Charles.
Awesome. Hey guys, well, welcome back to our on-air event. Today, well, I love that we had Charles today because he's part of our accelerator program, our podcast accelerator program. This event was great. We definitely talked about a little bit about live streaming and live streamers and some keys that they have to success when it comes to live streaming, and then we also talked a little bit about AI and how to incorporate GPTs and have them take actions for us. One of the most important things, and one of the things that the field of AI is seeing is agents and how they're going to revolutionize basically how we do things because they're able to take actions for us. So if you missed out today's event, I'm really sorry. You didn't learn about agents today, so that kind of sucks. But we're going to continue on our exercise, which is basically just having the people that came to the event talk a little bit about themselves and about what they do, their services, their companies, or themselves. And we're going to go first with Andres. He's our financial officer. He's an amazing person and one of the best hairs out there. Let's go, Andres. Talk to us a little bit about you.
Well, about myself, I am know what I do. I was in finance for the longest time. I was in sales for the longest time. So I like to learn a lot. I like to educate myself after I left the education system. And yeah, at HGAB I had the opportunity to be more entrepreneurial, to experience business from not a non-corporate, but more like entrepreneurial startup where you set up the rules and you don't work under the rules. But early this morning, we're conversing on how a lot of entrepreneurs lack that system building, lack that kind of structure that corporations have, and then it makes them so big, and that they always go like, why am I always chasing after the cash flow? Why am I chasing after the sales? And the reason is that you are not implementing systems. That's the hard work. After that, you just modify yourself, and then you really go out there and sell your product. So I like to learn about that a lot. So to teach it or to, if anybody wants to sit down with me and have a conversation, that's usually my topic.
Boom. That's amazing. And that's something that we were talking about today as well when it came to agents, right? And AI systems, right? There needs to be a system for it to understand what you want it to do. You can't just expect for it to just come out of nowhere and understand that you want to create captions, that you want to have a blog with your tone. And there needs to be a system. So I love that you apply that to business and to podcasting and to financials.
Financials. I'm also a writer. I do X amount of things that I everything that I do, I systematize. So I don't have to be worried about the items. I worry about the whole system. And if something is not working, it's because one item is not working and it requires changes or to move up. A lot of people that tells me about AI, it was like, it doesn't give me the answers. It was like, because you're all over the place. So AI is going to give you an answer all over the place.
Right.
So these classes are really good to get people more into building those little parts to create the whole.
That's beautiful. And now to get into a little bit more of a serious note before we go into our next guest, what is the system to have such beautiful hair?
I will say first stress management.
Oh, that's the most important one.
Eat well, sleep as best as you can. But yeah, overall managing stress. I think that's the way to go about it, and try not to think too much. Even though I just said, I just kind of told people build this entity of rules. But usually my rule is like kind of break the rule. Before when hanging out over here, it goes like, you know what? When they're going to interview me, I'm not even going to sit down. When they go live, I will sit down while it's going live. I'm not going to wear headphones. and then, whatever, it makes me feel more comfortable. It's like, okay, I'm not wearing the training wheels,
right?
But I'm also putting myself down a hill. So I'm like fun, accelerating. And usually that's how I go about things. And the hair flows better when that happens.
Beautiful. And that's one concept that we talked about today, kind of like training wheels. And I want to mention that again, because when you go live, it's going without the training wheels, right? And then I want to use this to introduce our next guest, which she was so eager to be on camera and she wanted to talk to all of you guys out there. So I want to introduce Renata? Rafaela. Sorry, Rafaela.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and maybe where you're from. Just a little bit of background on yourself.
So my name is Rafaela. I'm from Brazil. Bom dia.
Oh,
And I work in sales. I do real estate, but I definitely want to get more on the creative side of things. So that's why I came to the event. I listened to a podcast that said, when was the last time that you did something different or new for the first time? And I was like, I'm just going to try and see how it goes. And I got a lot of value from coming here and learning all these things.
beautiful. Awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to make it. Charles, could you do me a favor and just bring down her mic a little bit down? Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Just so that like it's not in her face there.
Okay.
Beautiful. Out of the presentation today and what we talked about, what was one of those things that you took away from that was really good? Something that you learned, something that you thought was very interesting.
Yeah, definitely the agents, like how to send the commands so you have like an assistant working for you, like the lazy work, like you said. Not really lazy, but like you're more efficient and like getting things done fastly. And yeah, that
Beautiful.
was very good.
Nice. What are some things that you're already thinking about maybe using agents for, or using the things that you saw today?
Definitely for real estate, for sales, yeah.
Okay.
For posting, social media and all that stuff, it's very time consuming, so it helps a lot.
Beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that you were a little scared to come into the podcast
Oh my
today, but
God.
you're doing amazing. Like, can you
But
please
my
tell
heart's
us?
like, the introverts will get it.
Can you please tell us like where this like courage came out from? Because
I
for
don't
a second
know.
ago
I was
and to
just
where it is
like-
now, it's a big change.
I was just like, don't be a little bitch, do it.
Ah,
That's
there we
it.
It was peer pressure. It wasn't.
It was peer pressure.
Exactly, yes.
That's great. Awesome. Well, now we can go into our next guest, which you guys already met a little bit. And I just want to say, Charles has been such an amazing person to work with. He's part of our podcast accelerator program. He's come with number one, the best attitude, and that's one of those things that I can appreciate, more. Charles, the attitude that you come learning. You're a student. You want to learn. You want to apply things, and how fast you apply things and feedback. I think that that's one of the best things that you have in one of your one of the best qualities, really.
Thank you.
And I really want to say I'm so glad to have met you. I'm so glad that you're here, part of the family. I can't wait to continue to get that podcast to 100,000 episodes, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you found HGAB and how this process has been up until now?
Yeah. So I started a podcast back in February called Tertst, and the idea behind it was telling my story first and sort of the traumas that I went through as a child, as a young adult, and wanting to make a change in my life in order to go down a different path. I wanted things to change. I wanted things to be different, but I also had to go back and put in the work, not just on myself, but understand why things were the way that they were, or why I reacted the way that I reacted. And one of the things that I wanted to do with the podcast was I wanted people to come on and tell their story, not just to tell their story, but what happened? How did they work through it? How did they get to the other side? And talk about the difficult things. And so when I first started the podcast, everyone was asking, why aren't you doing interviews? Why are you doing solo episodes? And I kept saying, you're going to understand once I get through all 4 parts. But like, I have to tell my story the way that I need to tell it in order for me to be able to say to a guest, I did this myself. Here are my episodes. You can go and listen to me tell my story. I want to do the same thing with you. And I didn't think it would be fair for the guests to, I didn't think it'd be fair for me to ask a guest to do that if I hadn't done it myself.
Right.
And one thing that I've learned is that there is always more to learn and always more that you can do. And so after I bought all the equipment and did everything at home, I realized that there's nothing like a studio. So I started looking at studios and happened to come in just to see what the space looked like to just rent the studio for when I do my podcast. And in doing that, very quickly I found out about the accelerator program. We got to talking, and I think one thing that stood out to me was that before we had even had a conversation about what the accelerator program was, you took the time to listen to one of my podcasts and took the time to give me very real, very valid feedback, both positive and constructive. And I think anyone who takes the time to do that prior to someone agreeing to work with them shows that they really have an interest in that person and making their dream come true. And that to me stood out from a lot of the people that I did speak with in addition to HGAB. But I think the in the same way that you you were so kind to say like, you appreciate the feedback and how hard I work to put in changes and make things different. I appreciate the same thing about the studio, and that everyone here is in your corner. They're all trying to help you get one step closer to what you're trying to accomplish. And you guys all listen and focus on not what is best for a podcast, but what is best for a specific person and their podcast.
100%. And I think that in the conversations that we've had, we've realized that some things are going to work for you and some things are not going to work for you. And I think that that's just part of the exercise, part of the journey. And you need to be malleable too. You can't be so strict on certain things, because once you step out of the box, that's when the beautiful things happen, right? And once you start playing with different things, and maybe structure is your thing, maybe structure is not your thing, but you need to make those things yours, right? And you need to go through that journey, explore them, because without exploring those things, maybe you'll come up into a situation where you need that structure. And I know that there's already a story in there, right?
Yep.
Where you did need that structure, and then it helped you get through a podcast,
Yep.
right? So I definitely think that number one, at Podcast Accelerator, if you guys want to create a podcast, if you guys need to create content, come here. We'll take care of you. We are your production team, you know? And besides that, where are you guys going to get another person that has the AI knowledge that I have? Come on, right?
That's worth it in itself.
Right?
Forget the podcast. Just come here for AI tutoring.
AI tutoring, you know, and how it can help you better in podcasting, in marketing, in branding, and whatever you needed to use it for, we'll help you with that here too. So definitely super happy to be able to bring this program to life, to have this networking events. I love having people come, fight their fears, you know, get in front of a microphone. You did amazing. I just want to say that again, because that was great. And yeah, man, I'm super excited. Let's go around again one more time, and let's just do things that we hope for the future, things that, you know, maybe a project that we're working on, things that we want to put out there in the universe, manifest something coming to life. Maybe, Andres, you can start with us, please.
So something that we've been working for the future is to have my own podcast. I noticed since I was in banking that I will help individual people, and I wanted to help more people. And since I've been here, there's a lot of conversation about, business conversations, all those things. So yeah, I've been working on a podcast in which I want to help the person not to build the business, but to build the person that is going to build the business. And I'm well known for being very disciplined and knowledgeable. So I want to share on that so the person can be able to handle the stress and everything that it takes to own a business and, you know, do everything that has to get done.
That's beautiful, man. And I think that a lot of people are going to take a lot of value from that podcast when it comes out.
Yeah, I think working online, having a podcast, I'm a big traveler. So for me, I think the future is everything online, working online. So definitely want to move to that direction and get out of like sales a little bit.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
Just rapid question also. Is there any place right now that you're like, I need to visit?
Thailand. Oh my God.
Wow.
I want to go. But it has to be like a 30-day trip because so far.
Right.
So it's like, it takes a day to get there. So at least you have to spend 3 weeks there. you
Right.
know? Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Charles?
I think I'm going to take a page out of your book and do something that scares me, which would be doing a live podcast and taking live questions. And I think from today, in addition to all the AI stuff, but I pick your brain about that every single day, I think it's doing a live podcast, being consistent with it once a week, even if it's for 30 minutes.
Right.
I think that is something that I very clearly said I was terrified of, but I want to set that as the goal and try to implement that as a consistent weekly thing that I do.
Beautiful. And so I'm currently in school. I'm going to Miami-Dade College, pursuing my bachelor's in artificial intelligence, and I'm starting my semester this week. And one thing that I'm looking forward is to continue to like build my knowledge to be able to bring in tools, bring in ways to help the creator community. My focus with AI, and definitely has been from the beginning, is to be able to bring in tools and bring in just systems to help my creator community. I don't want them to fear AI. And definitely, that's one of those things that I always get. It's like, oh, AI is going to replace photographers. It's going to replace video. and I want to remove that word from my vocabulary, and I don't want to use it, and I want to say it's not replace, it's augmentation, right? So AI is going to augment us to be the best person that we can be, and yeah, I'm super excited for that. I'm excited to enter the semester, learn some more, and then be able to bring this back to HGAB, help everybody here, including the people in our podcast program as well. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you guys so much for listening to our live stream. I can't wait to have the next networking event. And if you missed this one, make sure to not miss the next one. Next one, I'm going to bring some awesome AI stuff. So please stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you guys so much for participating in this exercise. All of you guys did amazing. And yeah, can't wait to see you guys on the next one. Peace.